right, 1 Samuel 28. Let's call this one Unbelievable and subtitle it Saul's Fall, because in this chapter we are going to see the beginning of the end of the reign of King Saul. We don't say that with any kind of joy, as we mentioned a chapter or so back. God does not take joy in the death of the wicked, and this is the chapter in which it's going to be painfully apparent to Saul that his death is imminent. And so leading up to that, we go back to David and Achish, the king of Gath, one of the Philistine towns. And Achish is going to be one of the Philistine kings who is going to mount up for battle against Saul, which puts he and David in a tough predicament, probably David more so than he, because Achish trusts David. And he says, David, it's time for you to strap on your sword and go to battle with me against Israel, which to Achish doesn't seem strange because David's been telling Achish that he's been making raids in Israel all along. However, David hasn't actually been raiding his own people. And so now it's going to put David in an interesting dilemma, and we will not see the resolution of that until a chapter or so later when the other kings of the Philistines are going to be like, wait a minute, is that David? And they're going to challenge Achish and whether or not he's been making wise choices up to this point. But before we get there, there is going to be a pause where we go back to see Saul and his response to the Philistine army at his doorstep, which is going to cause him to fear and quake. Once again, my paraphrase. But he's going to be scared. And this is a problem. He has, as we've mentioned, shut out all of the voices of reason around him. And so the people and the things through which God would have spoken to him are now silent because God isn't talking to him anymore. And this chapter is giving us a picture of an old principle, an old biblical principle that is, whatever you sow, you will also reap, which is similar to another principle, which is with the measure you use, it will be measured back to you. And in the sermon on Sunday, we talked about this particular story being an illustration of that, understanding that in a number of ways we are going to see the things that Saul did early in his reign now come full circle. First and foremost, he rejected God, and now God is rejecting him. The things, as we mentioned, through which God would talk to him, maybe Urim and Thummim, the things that the priest would keep to help them discern godly judgment, they're silent now. God's not speaking to him through those things. The people, he's already killed some of the priests, and now he's not getting an answer through priests, and he's not getting answers directly either through dreams. Understanding the power of the Holy Spirit is said to sometimes work through dreams. He's already lost that, and so now the dreams are silent too. And so now he's desperate. So another thing that he has done is going to come full circle because he was in his zeal for the Lord, the things that he was willing to do. Among them was to try to get rid of the witches and the necromancers, the people who consult with the dead to try to tell the future. And so in doing that, he effectively struck fear into at least one witch, that being the witch of Endor, the one he will seek out in this chapter, who will refuse to try to consult the dead for him until he guarantees her safety, at which point she will call up Samuel, who has now passed. Samuel is going to ask, why have you disturbed me? And Saul is going to say, it's because I can't get any other answers. And so now we see another irony with the things that Saul has done, meaning the very sins that Saul was putting others to death for, he is now committing because he can no longer hear from God. And the irony of that is Samuel is about to tell him that much like the witches and the necromancers and the people who consulted the dead, who he put to death before, he is going to be dead like them tomorrow. Which leads us into one of the final ironies of Saul's last few days, which is early on when he told the people they could not eat until he was vindicated on his enemies. We are going to see that Saul was so terrified that he wasn't able to eat all day or all night before he met up with the witch of Endor. And after Samuel breaks the bad news to him, he's still going to be terrified. He's still going to refuse to eat, but they're going to convince him to at least try to eat so he can be on his way for the battle ahead. This is another story in that litany of illustrations that helps us understand that God means what he says when he says, with the measure that we use, it will be measured back to us. But beyond all of the consequences of doing wrong, to the degree that we have legitimate desires, the Bible describes God as the one who sees the end of a thing from the beginning. And so God willing, we will have the wisdom not only to seek his assistance in getting the things that we desire, but also have the wisdom and the courage and the endurance to actually take care of them. God's best to you for that reason as you go forward in him.